Welcome to Sports Spectrum, the sports and faith podcast that brings Jesus back into the conversation. Here's your host, Jason Romano.
Welcome, everyone, to Sports Spectrum. I am Jason Romano. Before we get to our interview with Matt Wieters, Major League Baseball catcher, four-time All-Star, two-time Gold Glover, I want to tell you about our website, sportspectrum.com, and our magazine, the Sports Spectrum magazine, going strong since 1985. The magazine is a quarterly magazine. It's super cheap, $18 for an entire year subscription. Gets you part of the Sports Spectrum family. And we want to encourage you to subscribe, not just to have a magazine, but to actually have a place where you can present the gospel to someone who loves sports. Every single magazine that we produce, it's a quarterly magazine, but there's about 6 issues a year, bonus issues, a couple bonus issues in there, of the Sports Spectrum magazine that go out. You take this magazine, of course, read it, but then give it to someone who loves sports, but maybe doesn't have that strong faith, or maybe has a faith but isn't sure how to be encouraged in that faith or how to take it deeper. Listen, the Sports Spectrum magazine is a great tool for that because it has the articles that you would expect every magazine to have, just like our website has. But then it has devotionals in there. It has a gospel presentation in the back of every magazine. It's an awesome tool, evangelistic tool to give to someone who loves sports. So consider subscribing today over at sportspectrum.com. Right there on the website, you'll see a large banner that says subscribe to the magazine. You click it, $18 for an entire year. That's it. And you get you a subscription to the Sports Spectrum magazine. Subscribe today over at sportspectrum.com. Really excited to have Matt Wieters on the show today. Matt, a 4-time All-Star, a 2-time Gold Glover, was selected in the first round, the 5th pick overall in the 2007 MLB Amateur Draft by the Baltimore Orioles. Highly touted. I remember going to see him play in his rookie year in 2009, and I remember the buzz when he came to the plate. Fans were really excited about this young stud prospect in Matt Wieters, who played his college ball at Georgia Tech and then came to the major leagues, made his major league debut just a couple years later in 2009. And then, like I said, 4 All-Star appearances with the Orioles in 2011, 2012, 2014, and 2016. He played 8 years in Baltimore from 2009 to 2016, then went to the Nationals and played in Washington 2017, 2018. And then this past year, in 2019, he signed a minor league deal, went to spring training, and earned a spot with the St. Louis Cardinals as the backup catcher to Yadier Molina. And so Matt Wieters has an interesting story and an interesting baseball journey. He's had a lot of success, and he's been humbled a little bit in his baseball career. Take a listen to the story, the journey, the testimony of 4-time All-Star catcher Matt Wieters here on Sports Spectrum. Matt, welcome to Sports Spectrum.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks for having me on. It's always fun and enjoyable getting to come on with you.
Yeah, it's so good to have you here, and we're excited to connect a little bit. We're at a conference here in Florida. 2019 was an interesting year for you. I think it's a good place to start. You were with the Cardinals, first year there, 1 year there, and you and I were talking earlier about, your career has spanned and had a lot of successes and a lot of kind of ups and downs, and this was a different type of year for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think even both free agent years I've gone into before haven't quite gone like I pictured in the off season, but it's been great because it's taught me more and more that God has a plan for me and God has a plan for all of us. But it's allowed me now, once again, being a free agent this off season, kind of go into with that mentality is wherever He's going to put us, He's got a plan for us. He may not show us exactly what it is, but He's got a plan. And it happened to be St. Louis, and it was always a team that I actually have quite a few friends who were on St. Louis before even getting there. So I was excited to kind of, when it turned out that St. Louis was going to be the team. Yeah. But then it gets to be, okay, my whole career I've been a guy who catches over 100 games, and while healthy, would like to get 130, 140. And it turned out it's, okay, well, we want you here. We think you can be a great part of the team and help, but you're going to be playing behind a guy that, if he can, is playing every day. And it was like, okay, well, what's this look like more than anything? And it was is really going to like, okay, what do I go in with this mindset? Because it's different. And it's not like I'm like, okay, I feel like I can excel in this role, but it's going to be different. So it was a lot of prayer. Like, okay, Lord, what are you teaching me through this? What is this even going to look like? Because it was something that was going to be new to me. And pretty much through the whole time, he's just telling me, he's like, don't fear. He said, it will be different, but it will be great. And that was the kind of thing going with it. It was all going to be new situations. I was going to go from being in a routine, being in and playing, 6 out of 7 or 5 out of 7 to you may not play for 15 or 20 days. And it was more like, don't fear. You've played baseball your whole life. You'll be fine. Trust that whatever happens, I'm here with you. And that was kind of the whole mindset going on. And it was so comforting throughout the whole year and felt like it even played into when I got in the games, the anxiety, the worry that even sometimes I had when I was playing every day. It's like, okay, you have to do this, you have to do this, was gone. It was like, okay, go out there, give it everything you have, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, and you had a good year. I think you had 11 homers and, 130 at-bats or something like that?
Yeah, it was I was worried going in before kind of getting this, okay, don't worry about it, don't fear about it, was how am I going to keep my timing? How am I going to keep my routine? How am I going to keep, seeing the ball? And it wasn't really a problem at all. It was, you actually are going to feel fresh. Your body's going to feel good. You have time to kind of prepare for which situation you may get because you're not going to have 500 bats where every pitcher's seen what you struggle with, what you've been doing well. So go out there, get you a good pitch to hit and put a good swing on it. And it may be a philosophy that I wish I would have put into play before I was playing, sparingly.
Yeah, interesting. Tell me about because I watched your career. I remember when you first came up in 2009, and you're this 23-year-old kid, and you're making your big league debut. But there was a lot of expectations on Matt Wieters. You were the 5th overall pick in 2007, and the Orioles. Next great prospect, if you will, and you had a good career with the Orioles. You played 8 years there. What would you tell that 23-year-old when you look back now at where you were last year at 33 and what you were going through that helped you prepare for where you were able to kind of become a different type of player in 2019, whereas in 2009, you were this, rookie, wide-eyed, and trying to impress everyone.
Yeah, that's the funny thing is the perception can be so different through the media and through just different ways through when you go through the game. When it came up, I felt everything was next best prospect, going to be greatest catcher since Mauer, Power, and all this stuff that kind of got said. And me personally, inside, I was thinking, I don't know, I've never done this before. I'm kind of like, I got to figure this league out. I'm like, okay, am I really going to have success? Am I really going to have a good time? And the weird thing is, as the career goes, mentally, I felt more and more comfortable, and I felt like, okay, I know what I'm doing. And even to this day, it's like, there was things coming out like, can he catch anymore? Can he catch all the time? Can he do all this? All the negatives that start coming out. And really, I feel like I have more confidence and more faith in my ability now than I did when I was, all-star, Gold Glove winner. And it's probably funny to say that because, the outside world will look at it as like, oh, no, he's not quite the same player he used to be. Yeah. But I actually feel like I'm more prepared for the big situation to be able to handle it than I ever was before. And I think that's a great thing about our God, and a great thing about Jesus is just when this world says you're not what you should be, God's telling you you're exactly where you should be, and you're exactly what you're going to be, and it's exactly what I'm leading you to. And it's great because I feel for so many guys who go through their career, and a lot of careers can have the same trajectory where it start out hot and then it's the tail end. But if you don't have, that kind of plan that God has for you, it can be scary on the back end of it. And while it actually frees me up to be like, well, I feel like I can play for as long as I play, and there's no worry, anxiety about when the career is going to end, because I feel like through my career, God has showed me no matter what other people are saying about what kind of success you are, I'm going to make you the success I want to be in, and you may not see it now, or people may not see it now, but you're going to be a success because we have a relationship. And that's the one thing that I've learned a lot through, and that's God showed me a lot through my career. Is like, and I had to do it from reading positive articles, reading negative articles, trying to avoid all the articles, trying to avoid talking to media, trying to talk to them all the time. And through it, God has taught me, it's like, it's okay to hear the noise, but realize it's just noise. It's something where you want to stay connected. You want to know the world. You want to know what's going on in the world, so you can see the stark difference between what God really sees you in. Because it's light and dark, and to be able to kind of have that perception in a game that will beat you down. If you're in it long enough, it'll beat you down. To be able to still have the optimism and just the hope when I go to the field every day is like something great could happen today.
Matt Wieters is our guest here on Sports Spectrum. Where does that faith sort of take shape for you? Where does that start? Is that something you grew up with and was instilled with you into you from a young age?
Yes, yes, and no. My parents did a great job of just making the gospel accessible to me, going to church on Sundays. It was always available to me. Baseball was always a huge part of our family, and sports were always a huge part of our family. So it was kind of work hard at school, work hard at sports. We'll go to church on Sundays, and that was kind of our routine. And of course, me being a kid, I'm like, well, yeah, I love playing baseball. I love doing this, so I'm going to focus as much as I can on that. And we'd go to church, and I'd sit in the pews, and I'd write down what I wanted to do for baseball for the whole next week. Or I'd write down, oh man, what stats am I going to have this year? And that's kind of how my church experience went when I was younger. And it was to no fault of my parents. It was me who just was pushing away something real in my life and was turning to what I felt like I was good at and what I had fun doing. And I was able to do that all the way through college, and met my wife in college, and she really started to exposing me to the Holy Spirit is what I feel, where it just started moving through me. It's like, okay, this is a little weird. We're going there, standing up, worshiping. We're raising our hands. What are we doing here? I'm used to just kind of going and writing my baseball stats down. But
yeah.
And so my wife exposed me out to college, and
you were at Georgia Tech,
I was
right?
at Georgia Tech,
Yep.
and we were at Georgia Tech, and we actually, she I'll say drugged me to Louis Giglio's 722 in college, and that's when Louis gets up there and speaks, and you're just like, whoa, he's feeling something different. He's feeling something different. There's something different about him, and so that kind of opened my eyes. But then really getting through, I still was able to get drafted. I still like, okay, I can still do this on my own. I was drafted 5th overall. This is what I've always planned to do. From the time I was little, I wanted to play professional baseball. I got drafted by the Orioles. Was able to move through the minor leagues quickly. Had a great minor league season. Like, okay, this is great. I'm still not confident in myself because I don't really. I know I like playing baseball, and I was fortunate enough to be able to have a good year and get called up in 2009 in May, and rookie year was good. It was like, okay, I can play here. It's checking off boxes is all I was doing. I was checking off, okay, I can compete here. Okay, I can be good here. And still, This whole time, the whole media is saying, he's going to be great. He's going to be the next best thing ever. And I'm still just checking off boxes. Like, okay, can I really play here? But get home from the offseason, like, okay, I can play here. And I get home, and also, like, my whole time, that's what I want to do. I wanted to play Major League Baseball. I get home in the offseason, and I'm like, I can do what I've always wanted to do, but it still doesn't feel like enough. It feels like, okay, I've reached everything I trained for. Why does this not feel like enough? Why am I not happier? Why do I not have more joy? And that's when God kind of smacked me on the back of the head, I guess, and said, yes, you see that I have allowed you to be able to have success in baseball, be able to get drafted, be able to get to the major leagues. So you can see that it is not everything that you wanted to be. It's not going to be fulfilling enough. Eventually, you're going to realize there is something more, and that's when I realized there is something more. That baseball, no matter what career I had from that point on, was never going to fulfill me as a person. And that's when it kind of went on my journey of, okay, well, figuring out what is God's plan for me? What does he want to do? And that's a constant struggle I'm not struggling. It's a constant joy I get being able to try and figure that out each day. And the more and more I see it, it's he just wants a relationship with us. Yeah. And that's the great part about it is from Adam and Eve, he created us to go and spread his glory throughout the whole world. And I don't know, it makes it simple when you wake up in the morning, like, okay, how am I going to go to the field? How am I going to the clubhouse and do that? And it's pretty much saying, we're just going out there and trying to spread the good news that God has given us in His Son Jesus to everyone that we can.
Yeah, and that's great. A great story. And I wonder, as your faith is increasing, you know, the John 3:30 motto, He must increase, we must decrease. It's the increase in Christ. It's part of our ministry, the increase. How does that look for you as your career starts to evolve? So you start to go into, you know, you mentioned 4-time All-Star. So you're one of the best players at your position in the American League. You're a 2-time Gold Glover. You are the best defensive player at your position in 2 of those seasons. So success is coming your way. But what does that decrease in self and increase in Christ start to look like? Maybe taking that faith into your baseball journey as your career evolves.
Yeah, I feel like, and that's probably why I feel like as the playing career hasn't had more success on the field as it grows, my spiritual life has had greater success because it's a posture, as we've talked about here, of being able to humble yourself and realize that we can't do it and that you can't do it. And in the sports world, in the baseball world, in the athletic world, everybody is always going to tell you, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. And it just builds yourself up for eventually, in the sports and athletic world, you can't do it. So it's building yourself up for a failure at some point, unless we realize there's somebody out there who can do it. And that's what's so great about Jesus, is that He could do it. He did it for us. He's already done it. And now we've just got to be able to realize we've got to humble ourselves and be able to just acknowledge that and put our faith in Him, and then we can do it through Him. And that's what's great. And I'm not going to compare Yadi to Jesus, but
no, I know what you mean.
But it's the same thing. If I had
Yadier Molina,
of course, everybody knows him, and he is amazing. And just getting to play behind him and learn from him was great, which I never expected. You know, I always considered myself one of the hardest workers in Major League Baseball, that I always went to the field and did everything I could to help my team win that day. And I got to spring training with the Cardinals, and I get to the field, which I used to always get to the field as one of the earliest, if not the earliest. And I get to the field what I thought was going to be one of the earliest there. And I hear in the cage, and I hear the machine going thump, thump, thump. And I go out to the cage and like, man, who's out here, you know, working, thinking that maybe it's one of the minor league catchers who's really trying to impress somebody or trying to do something like that. That's right. And it's Yadi just sitting in the cage, just catching ball after ball after ball, and just honing his craft. And that really got to me, not only as a baseball player, it's like, yes, we still have to do some of the mundane and simple things every day, but it actually got me as in my spiritual life. It's like, we still have to do some of the mundane things every day to just continue to improve and continue to get better, to where we are with God in what He wants us to take to great things and what He wants to use for great things, but also just in the daily life to be able to stay prepared and stay ready.
I want to stay on Yadi for a second. I just think from a baseball perspective, you know, I think he was 37 this year. He was age 36 or age 37 playing, and still having a really great year. You start to see, you know, maybe a little bit of chip in the the talent level, but or whatever you want to say. You know, just being 37 is just naturally you're not the same as you were in 27, but still playing every day, playing a day game after a night game, which you don't see a lot anymore from guys who are 27, much less 37. All-stars, and you see him come up big in the playoffs again in helping the Cardinals make the league championship series. What was it about him? I mean, that's a great story. I think that really, you want to know what separates all-time greatness from greatness to, you know, good, and you see why is a guy a Hall of Fame type of player, and I believe Yadi is a Hall of Famer. It was that story that you just told. Can you just share what you only played with him for a year this year. You might play with him again, who knows, but what was it that you saw in him just on a day-to-day throughout the season that really made you think, okay, this is great? And not that you weren't great either. You are great, and you were great, but watching that guy and being around him.
Well, yeah, and just seeing his mentality to where he was ready to take it to whatever level it had to be for him to be able to compete that day or be able to give the team the best chance to win. And that's one thing that I know all Cardinals just respect it, because you'll see a guy who gets beat up the night before, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm definitely playing tomorrow. He had 7 foul tips. He had all these bruises. Day Crazy. Game after night game. It's a 12:00 game. It's not even like it's a 1:00 game where he gets an extra hour. It's it's like a 12:00 game after extra innings or something like that. I'm like, okay, I'm definitely gonna play tomorrow. I get myself prepared tomorrow. And I go home. He comes in, showers, changes, goes home just like a normal game. And I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm still gonna play tomorrow. And we get the lineup probably about an hour or two later from Skip, and it's Yadi's in there batting 5th, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, this guy
He's
just
a freak of nature.
Yeah, but it really was his mentality. It's like if he felt like he was physically able to go out there and play, he was going out there and played. And I had and have that same mentality. It's like,
of course,
if you feel like it's the best way for us to win the game, I'm going to go out there, and that's what he had, and it was fun to watch. And even the guy who it comes from an unselfish place, and that's the thing we think when we want to go out there and play every day. It's a selfish place that we just want to go out there and do it for ourselves. But he was doing it just because he always feels he's like, I can give us a chance to win today, and that's what his mentality was, and I really respected that. And it is, like I said, it was different for me with the playing time situation.
Sure,
but I loved it. I loved having to be ready at a moment's notice, because that's what I could do to help the team. I had to be ready to go in there at the drop of a hat, or if he ever did say, hey, you know what, I can use a day off today, or if we, he's like, a lot of times if we'd already won a series by the 3rd game or by the 4th game, he'd be like, hey, yeah, you go out there. It's and I'd be like, yeah, and it really did. It kind of, I guess, reawoken my joy for the game a little bit, of just not knowing what was going to happen, and be like, okay, well, whatever situation I get put in, I'm ready to go.
You play a position too, Matt Wieters, where you're a catcher, just like Yadi is, who that's sort of the leader of the team in a lot of ways, especially on the defensive side, but even as a clubhouse. And there's the on the field leader, and then there's spiritual leaders. And I'm sure you had to kind of develop into that. Even if you were a believer, when you're young, you're coming in and you're a catcher and you're on the field and you have to sort of take charge. But from a spiritual leadership perspective, let's talk about that for a second, especially coming from a catcher. What did that look like for you as you grew into that? And then maybe talk about the role in 2019 with the Cardinals and being one of the spiritual leaders. You have a lot of good spiritual guys on that team. I mean, certainly Waino comes to mind, Adam Wainwright, as a true spiritual leader. But can you walk us through that sort of evolution from that perspective of being a spiritual leader in the clubhouse, and maybe some of the ups and downs and ebbs and flows of that?
Yeah, it's not too different from becoming a leader as a catcher on the field, and that's what Yaya does, and it's what I did in Baltimore. It was like, we felt if we went out there and were consistent and went out there and played every day and worked hard. The great thing about catching is, yes, you want the performance, but just going out there and showing up and being tough enough and being mentally strong enough to put together a game plan to where your pitchers know you're working everything for them and just putting them in a good situation, then people start to follow you as a catcher. It's the same thing for our spiritual life. It's if you go out there and are consistently showing, okay, this guy's going about his obedience. He's reading every day. He's showing up every day for every Sunday for chapel. He's consistent with his approach. You'll get the ear of guys. And it's the great thing with the Cardinals is we felt like we could almost spread out through the dugout and just bounce things all over the place and just have hopefully God and the Holy Spirit move it through whoever he would in the dugout. And maybe why it was easier for me to sit on the bench and be able to not play all the time, because I always thought something just as great, if not greater, was just going to be coming from the dugout that day in some conversation. And whether it was talking with Jack Flaherty or Dakota Hudson about pitching and things that I'd learned there, or talking with them about something I'd read or something I learned about life and how God can appeared to me during this game, just to kind of have people continue to look for him. And whatever place in their walk is, anytime you can get guy's looking for God, God will make himself known when he knows it's the right time.
Last couple questions here with Matt Wieters on Sports Spectrum. So 2020, you talk about you're not with a team right now. You're a free agent and sort of the unknown. Welcome to the world of Major League Baseball for a good majority of those players. Where you are in your career, you'll be 34 in May. What's 2020 looking like? I know it sounds like you still want to play and still want to keep going out there. What's that like right now, sort of the uncertainty in where you are?
Yeah, I definitely feel like I still have a lot, not only on the field to offer to teams, but in the clubhouse with pitching staffs. I enjoy the camaraderie that comes with being part of the 26-man roster and just going to battle with guys in whatever role it may be. But as far as where or what that'll be, that's one thing I've been fortunate to been taught over my 2 trips through free agency is you don't really know until it'll happen fast whenever it does happen. But I feel I'm confident and comfortable that God's going to put me wherever He wants me. Obviously, we always want to, selfishly and with the flesh, we want to go where it's most comfortable and where we like guys and where we have the best chance to win and all these things that come into play. But each place I've been in when I've moved different teams, it's been the right spot for me at that time, and it's been great to. And it was easy to say that looking back, but I don't know. It makes me just strive just to be faithful and obedient to wherever He puts me as where He wants me, and continue to hopefully keep my ear open and not miss out on part of the job He has set up for me down here.
That's good. And we'll keep an eye on that and see where 2020 leads for Matt Wieters. Okay, last question. We ask this to all of our guests here on Sports Spectrum. What's God teaching you now? What are you learning in the process of where you are today, where you've come from, all that you've been through in your walk with the Lord? What's the biggest lesson He's teaching you right now?
I think the biggest lesson He's teaching me is that we're called to spread out His glory and spread out the greatness of His Son's name, Jesus, throughout the whole world. And it starts with our relationship with Him and just continually trying to be obedient in our relationship with Him, but also not knowing that that's not the end of it. It's not just have a relationship. It's be able to take that to other people and spread it. And that's what He's teaching me. And it's always me. I've always been an introvert, and being able to do that has been a little bit of a little bit anxious on my part before. But He's really just, I think He's continually started to free me up to feel like, okay, you it's taken you a while, is pretty much what I say, but I want you to be bold. I want you to go out there and feel comfortable in what you learn, and I may screw up, but that's where the prayer comes in, that whatever words I have or whatever relationships I have with people, that He changes to what He wants them to be, and ultimately, just trying to put His will in line with what I want to do in life is what He's really been telling me now. And it's when I was young in my career, it's been the same plan the whole time, but when you're young in your career, you push that off because you want what you want, and the humbleness and the maturity that He's taught me through struggles in the game, through just marriage and kids and different life things that come at you is that keep our relationship, but also don't let it stop there. Make sure that if there's somebody that I can share with the greatness that He's given to me, make sure that I'm not afraid to do that.
Yeah. He is Matt Wieters, 4-time Major League Baseball All-Star, 2-time Gold Glove catcher, and we'll see what 2020 has in store for Mr. Wieters. Thanks, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
No problem. It's always great.
Absolutely. That was great stuff there from Matt Wieters. We taped that in December of 2019, and here we are in January of 2020, January 21st, 2020, as this podcast is released, and we are happy to announce that Matt Wieters has agreed to a 1-year deal to return to the St. Louis Cardinals. So that's great news for Matt, and I loved kind of hearing in December how he was just trusting in God and knew that an opportunity would come forth if the Lord meant it to come forth, and then lo and behold, it did come forth, and that's really great news for Matt, and excited to see him return to the Cardinals, where he had so many great things to say about that culture and the clubhouse with guys like Wainwright and Matt Carpenter and Yadier Molina, and just a really cool thing happening in St. Louis. And Matt Wieters will be back with the Cardinals in 2020. Many thanks to Matt, and many thanks to you all for listening to this podcast, for investing in the Sports Spectrum ministry. We really are a media ministry where you can become a part of all that we're doing a couple ways. Number one, you can consume all the free content that we're sharing right now, whether it's the podcast or our website, our YouTube channel, our social media pages, tons of free content, all for you to access and take to use however you would want to use it, as long as you're using it to tell others and hopefully to encourage others in their faith. We'd love to have you share it all. But then we have our magazine, and that's a great way to subscribe and make a monetary donation, if you will, to our ministry for just $18. It's a super cheap deal for an amazing magazine. It's $18. That covers an entire year subscription. $18. It's less than $2 per month to become a part of the Sports Spectrum family and subscribe to our magazine right now. You can go to the website, sportspectrum.com. You'll see a list of icons there. Click the magazine icon and you can subscribe to Sports Spectrum's magazine. You can also call us toll free to subscribe to the magazine now. It's 866-821-3971. 866-821-3971, and you can subscribe to the Sports Spectrum magazine today. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time with a brand new episode right here on Sports Spectrum. Have a great rest of your day.